It's week 3 in the NFL, and we give you our 3 best bets for this Sunday, and it all starts right now. Hey guys, it's Matt from GrandstandBettors.com. We have 3 picks for you today in Week 3 in the NFL. We're coming off a nice 2-1 Week 2 record. We're going to try to continue the winning picks this week. But first, if you're new to Grandstand Bettors, please go ahead and make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our NFL picks all season long, as well as smash that like button if you are ready for NFL Week number 3. But without further ado, let's dive in to Week 3 this Sunday. And our first pick we're going to look at is in the game of the Atlanta Falcons and the New York Giants. That's at 1 p.m. Eastern. The Giants in this game are favored by 3 points, and the over-under is set at 48. The Falcons come into this game 0-2 after falling to the Eagles and the Bucs to open the season. Now, Matt Ryan struggled out of the gate this season, going 21 for 35 for 164 yards in Week 1, but bounced back last week against the Bucs secondary, throwing 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he did throw 3 interceptions. Now, Matt Ryan hasn't found his go-to receiver yet early in this season, but he has done a great job distributing the ball. We're going to throw out that first game of the season, really, as Matt Ryan, like most starters, was using it as a preseason game to get up to that game speed that he didn't get much of in the preseason, if at all. And if you look at the Giants defense that he's going to be going against this week, they're not very good at defending the pass. They rank 25th in the league, giving up 287 yards a game, and they just gave up 320 yards to backup QB for Washington football team last week. That was Taylor Heineke there. Now, things better work well for the Falcons in the air because their run game is non-existent through 2 weeks. Mike Davis, who is the lead back on the team, hasn't eclipsed over 50 yards in the first 2 weeks. This week, it's going to be a direct indication to see if Mike Davis and company will ever be able to run the ball this year. The Giants, they're not the worst defense in the league defending the rush, but they have given up 125 rushing yards per game, most notably allowing the Broncos in Week 1 to put up 187 on them. Now, the New York Giants, on the other hand, they are 0-2 as well heading into this game, losing to Denver and the Washington football team on a heartbreaking field goal at the end. Giants fans must be close to waving that white flag already and just saying, hey, the season's over. But it's really not Daniel Jones' fault. The coaching staff, the play calling for the Giants offense has just been horrendous. Now, Jones hasn't looked awful in the first couple of games. He hasn't been great. He's averaging about 250 yards a game with 2 TDs thrown, and he's not thrown an interception yet. That's always good things, so things may be looking up for Jones and the Giants here in Week 3. Jones has already found his favorite wide receiver. That's Sterling Shepard. This guy has 16 catches for over 200 yards already. No receiver comes close on the Giants. But like the Atlanta Falcons, they are very weak at the running back spot thus far this season. Not in people, but in results. In Week 1, they managed only 60 yards on the ground, with Jones being the leader with 27. And although they rattled off 180 in Week 2, Jones again was their leading rusher with 95. And let's be honest, 41 of Saquon's 57 yards came on 1 rush. You take that away, that means he had 12 rushes for about 16 yards. That's 1.3 yards a carry. So, just like Atlanta, it's going to be a good test this week for the Giants to see if they can build up a running game before the season's over for them. Now, the Falcons are 24th in the league in rush defense, and overall, they're giving up 400 total yards per game in this young season. With the Falcons putting some offense together last week against the Bucs, and their defense struggling as they're giving up about 40 points a game thus far, we can see Daniel Jones and the Giants being able to get back on track this week after that heartbreaking loss against the Washington football team. However, Matt Ryan, who has been one of the most consistent QBs over the last 5 years, he's going to air it out on that Giants secondary. And remember, Tyler Heineke threw for over 320 yards against the Giants secondary. So look for both of these teams to struggle on the defensive end of the ball, and that's why the total we're a little surprised to set at 48. We think it's a good bet to look at over here, especially how many times Atlanta's going to throw the ball. So our first bet of week number 3 in the NFL is Falcons, Giants, over 48. Now, with our second pick, we're going to look at a 4 o'clock game between the visiting Miami Dolphins and the Las Vegas Raiders. Miami coming into this matchup, 1-1 record after 2 divisional games to start the season, while the Raiders are a surprising 2-0, beating tough AFC North opponents. The over-under here is set at 45.5 for this one, and the spread is 3.5 to the Raiders. Now, the Raiders are one of 2 teams left in the AFC that are undefeated after beating the Ravens and the Steelers to start the season. Although this is a shocker to a lot of people, we actually had them winning this game, these 2 games in our season preview. And the Raiders on the over win total for the season of how good their offense can be if it performs. So they started previous years 2-0 and ended the season miserably and missing the playoffs. So we'll actually have to watch and see how long this run lasts. However, with a grudge match this Sunday against the Dolphins after a 1-point loss in Week 16 last year, which eliminated them for the playoffs, they have a good chance at continuing their win streak through week number 3. Now, the Raiders' offense has been very good in the first 2 games. Derek Carr has looked solid, and his favorite target, Darren Waller, already has 15 receptions for 170 yards. Henry Ruggs III also emerged as a top wideout, had a huge reception against the Steelers that really won the game for him. Josh Jacobs played well in week 1, but was not 100% and then missed week 2. But Kenyon Drake, who was signed from the Cardinals this offseason, he has stepped it up very well so far. Their defense, which is probably their biggest concern for the season, has looked solid so far. They did a good job of maintaining the Ravens' offense, and they shut down Big Ben against the Steelers on Sunday. They're led by linebacker Denzel Perryman, who had 22 tackles on the season already, and a solid front 7 that has only given up 22 points per game thus far. With the Dolphins' offense coming in this week that's only scored 17 points all season long, the Raiders must be feeling confident about going into this matchup. Now, those Dolphins also started on a positive note with a 17-16 win over the Patriots, but then got trounced last Sunday by the Bills 35-0. Tua also, if you remember, left that game with an injury, and it turned out to be bruised ribs. So it's going to be interesting to see if he ends up playing on Sunday. We're actually filming this on Wednesday, so a lot could happen in the next few days or so, so keep an eye out on that injury report. Now, whether he plays or not, though, the offense has not looked good behind him or Jacoby Brissett. Their offensive line is not in the best state, which is probably why their lead rusher, Myles Gaskin, only has 74 yards rushing this season. And with Will Fuller still out with a suspension, they have not really been able to get anything going on the offensive side of the ball, despite having the likes of Devontae Parker, Mike Gesicki to throw to. The defense, which was really the main reason, if you remember last year, why they had 10 wins, they gave up 16 points against the Patriots in week 1, and they gave up 339 yards in that game. Thanks to rookie quarterback Mac Jones, they're lucky more of those drives didn't turn into touchdowns when they faced that QB, a QB that's only been in the league for about a week or so. In week 2, Josh Allen and the Bills, they put up 35 points on them. They're going to be facing a similar offense this week with the Raiders and another decent quarterback in Derek Carr. If their defense, honestly, doesn't step up this game, they're going to be in trouble again, as their offensive production has been seriously limited to nothing so far this season. With the way the Raiders have been playing so far, the game at Allegiant Stadium, and this being a grudge match, sort of, with last season's loss, if they get up, and they're going to have to get up early in the morning, we don't see them looking back at this one. Even if Tua plays well and he's not 100%, quite frankly, that is going to hurt the Dolphins even more. Putting him against this aggressive Raiders defense is just probably not going to be good for him overall. We kind of see them going with Jacoby Brissett and maybe letting Tua off the hook this week. But, as we said, time will tell. We like the Raiders to cover the 3.5 spread in this one. So, our second best bet of week 2 is Raiders minus 3.5 over the Miami Dolphins. Our last pick for week 3 is also coming from the 4 o'clock time slot, but this is probably the marquee matchup of the day. Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they face the LA Rams, and both teams have started the season with 2 wins. They look very strong on both sides of the ball, with the exception there of the Tampa Bay secondary. We think this could be actually a preview of the NFC Championship game this year, and a good one to watch. The spread right now is -1.5. But most likely, this is going to end up probably by game time a pick, or at least closer to pick, with the over-under set at 55.5. Now, the Bucs offense has looked dominating again so far, but they've only played the Falcons and the Cowboys, whose secondaries were absolutely awful last year. Tom Brady looks like he hasn't aged a day from 21. He's really spreading the ball around the field well, with Goodwin, Evans, Antonio Brown, and Gronk. All have over 100 yards in the first 2 weeks, and between all of them, they've combined with 9 touchdowns already. Brady is getting great pass protection again, but the offensive line has not faced the likes of someone like Aaron Donald yet. This is going to be a good test for them, and a key matchup that could be a big factor for the outcome. The Bucs have not really run the ball so much this year, but when they do, Fournette has been the go-to back. The Rams' pass and rush defense are both very good, so it's going to be interesting to see what the Bucs' play call will be and what they're going to be doing in the first 2 couple drives. That'll probably set the tempo for the game. Defensively is where they might have a little concern for the Bucs, as we alluded to. Although they put up great numbers last season, they have given up 399 yards per game and 27 points, which is not very good. But the apparent issue, again, is the secondary, which has given up 342 yards per game. And quite honestly, if their offense doesn't put up the numbers like they did the first 2 weeks, and Matt Ryan doesn't really throw those interceptions late, they could be in a different situation right now because of their secondary. The Rams are also off to a good start this season, beating the Bears in Week 1 by 20 and narrowly escaping a win in Indy 27-24. In both games, Stafford played very well with his new team. He's thrown for over 599 yards, 5 touchdowns, only 1 interception, and Cooper Kupp is by far his favorite receiver so far. He has 271 yards and 3 touchdowns, but Stafford has distributed the ball to Woods, Jefferson, and Higbee. So it's really a team effort there on offense. The run game, led by Darrell Henderson, has 123 yards rushing this season, but his production last week, very limited. He had to leave the game with a rib injury. McVay said they are hopeful he returns on Sunday, but the ex-Patriot, Sony Michel, is a viable option in the backfield if he's needed. Regardless, really, of who plays running back for them this Sunday, we do see them running the ball a whole lot, or we don't see them running the ball a whole lot. The Bucs defense ranked 5th last year in rush defense and only have given up 57 yards rushing a game this year so far. Now, given the state of the secondary, Stafford is going to just be throwing the ball in and out all the time, just slinging the ball down the field. He will be able to use several other weapons if the Bucs focus too much on shutting down Kupp. So, defensively, the Rams have one of the best all-around units in this league. Their front 7 led by Aaron Donald, who's a nightmare for offensive lines, and their secondary led by Jalen Ramsey, and safety Taylor Rapp leads them in tackles. If they get any sort of confidence against the Bucs early in the game, the Rams' defense is going to pounce and make things very hard for Tom Brady and his offense. If the Bucs are really going to keep this game close, they need to get their offense going right away. As we saw last year in the regular season, when the Bucs got down early against good teams, it didn't really end well for them. The Rams have a huge advantage defensively in this game, so it's going to be up to the Bucs offense to match with Stafford and the Rams offense and see if the Rams offense are able to produce. We like the Rams winning in this one at home, given how much better their defense is this year. So, our pick number 3 for week number 3 in the NFL is LA Rams on the money line. Take the money line. It's actually at even money right now on Wednesday. It might get up to -115. I would take them as high as 125. So, LA Rams on the money line, our 3rd pick of NFL Week 3. Now, guys, again, we're filming this on Wednesday due to our traveling this week, so we would still play maybe that first over-under up to 50. The Falcons and the Giants game, that was at 48. So if it moves up to 50, you could take that at 52. So I apologize that we're filming this so early. The lines may change when this comes out. But, guys, that's it for us here at Grandstand Bettors. Remember, join that NFL betting contest at grandstandbettors.com. Stay tuned because tomorrow on Sunday, we are doing the Browns-Bears live stream at 1 o'clock. We'll hopefully get home in time for that. We look forward to seeing you all there. And as always, sit back, relax, enjoy NFL week number 3, and we'll see you next week.